Good morning, everybody. My clock says 8:59, so we'll get started right at 9 to make sure as many people as possible who want to attend will join us. So sit tight just for a little while longer. Good morning, everybody. My clock has just clicked over to 9 a.m., so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Yvonne Nalini Mulmans. I'm chair of the Academic Senate. Thank you for joining me for the Spring 22 Faculty Assembly. First, I'd like to welcome our guest, Mr. Chris Devers, past chairman of the Palma Band of Luiseño Indians, who will present an acknowledgement of the land on which Cal State San Marcos and the surrounding communities stand. Welcome, Mr. Devers.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to share some words about the lands that, like you say, San Marcos sits in, the ancestral territory of Atacum Payamkucham. And I'll start off this way: is Mio Uyot. Ushani Vichikan Eskayekto to me Poplovni, the Mam Kanai, Quim Kanai, Kijam Kanai, Pepayom Kanai, Chami Pomaka Mayupi. Ushani Vichkan Eskayekatach me vai Polus Polov Chamato Puwoko Api. Donum Neno Neskonami. What I've shared, as you acknowledge not only the land, we have to also remember the first language of the first peoples of the land. And I've called for the good spirits from the four directions, the north, the south, east, and west, to be with you and guide you throughout your journey today. We also want to remember the ancestors of the lands. And when we have an opportunity and we look at our landscape that's in front of us as part of our creation story after the passing of grandfather Wiyot, the beings at that time decided to become the trees, the rocks, the animals, the two-legged. And they knew that the land did not belong to us. We belong to the land. And we each have a role to assure that Mother Earth continues to sustain herself. And throughout the years, and with development, the landscape has changed. But our belief of our Indian people is that the spirit of the land will always remain. And that we call upon our brothers and sisters of different cultures to understand and realize the importance of that landscape and what we look at today and what our future generations will look at in years to come. So I thank you for allowing me to share a few words about the land, the tradition of the land, and the resources of the land, that we always give it respect, honor it, and remember that we as the two-legged need to do our role to protect the land that we occupy. Oho, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Devers, for joining us this morning and sharing that with us, particularly as we start this spring semester. During our time together at our faculty assembly today, we will hear from our CFA president, Michelle Ramos Felicia, President Ellen Newfeld, and also hear from our Break Bill Award winner, Veronica Anover. Next, I would like to welcome as a special audience member today, Dr. Anne Bersie. Dr. Bersie continues to honor each year's Break Bill Award recipient in honor of her father, Harry Breakbill. He was the financial advisor to the California State College from 1965 to 1969 and retired after a 37-year career with the CSU as executive vice chancellor. He was always dedicated to academic excellence and faculty professional development. Dr. Bersie established the Harry E. Breakbill Distinguished Professor Award on our campus in 1997. And this award is given each year to a deserving, outstanding faculty member. Dr. Bersie is also a current Cal State San Marcos Corporation board director and supports many areas on our campus, including the College of Business Administration. We are honored to have Dr. Bersie in attendance at our assembly today. Our Senate Constitution requires at least one assembly of all the faculty each year, and it typically includes Senate updates, remarks from our CFA president, our university president, and the Breakbill Award recipient. As Senate Chair, I also provide some opening and closing remarks. And just as I said last fall at convocation, it is so hard to find the right words at such gatherings during this pandemic era that we're all living in. I hope everyone had an opportunity for rest over our winter break, but I know for many, winter break was a time of worry and illness. Somehow my household did not get sick, but we had multiple exposures, multiple tests, and many family members and friends finding themselves not only COVID positive, but very ill. So my winter break and yours may have only had a little resemblance to a break. But here we are at the start of a new semester, and one that is also starting online. And so as I thought about what to say at the assembly, I thought about what occurred at the Senate public session that we held a week before break. For those of you who weren't there, one of the topics was Robert's Rules of Order, which the Senate uses to conduct our meetings and get our business done. But the conversation became more of a community forum about how we want to work with each other. It was, for me, one of the most moving and personally energizing meetings I have ever been in. Did we solve all the problems? Did we even fully diagnose the issues in front of us? We didn't, but those formerly in the Senate and others in our campus community shared their experiences, insights that I believe strongly can help us become an even more collaborative governance body for the faculty. So my job now as Senate Chair is to keep the Senate moving no matter how tangled we may feel. The Senate will return to the issue of convening a task force on general education at our February 2nd meeting. We have also finally seated the Lecture Committee in Anti-Racism, Anti-Colonialism, and Social Justice Committee. Both of these efforts, years in the making, and are two brand new necessary standing committees. We have also made all standing committee referrals easily visible to the campus community through pages at the Senate website. This is something that folks have been asking for years. And we also now have an AB 928 page within the Senate website where folks can find more information about this law that will impact us all. So I encourage everyone to spend some time on the Senate's website. There's a wealth of information there. These are all small and necessary things that will allow us to address the large and complex issues in front of us. And I encourage all of you to find how you may engage with the Senate in whatever way makes sense for you. And at the same time, I think of those of us, including myself, that are exhausted, that are ill, have no rest from caregiving. Daycares can close with one exposure. And those who are just feeling crushed by the weight of everything. I feel just by logging on today for today's assembly, it's a victory. We're here and we're getting through it bit by bit. And I decided to open this faculty assembly by authentically voicing my own worry and tiredness simultaneously with my own joy that here we are starting another semester. I am, even with it all, happy to be here, delighted to hear from other folks who are also committed to Cal State San Marcos mission. Now, I would like to introduce Michelle Ramos-Felicia, President of the San Marcos chapter of the California Faculty Association, and also co-chair of the CFA Chicanx Latinx Caucus, and one of our representatives to the Academic Senate of the CSU. She is an associate professor in the Modern Language Studies Department and will share news and updates from the CFA. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Yvonne. And, I appreciate the introduction. And, I am so excited to be here, but also, share the concern about the continued and ongoing pandemic. And before I share with you the report from CFA, I would like to introduce, although I don't know if she's going to be able to join because of technology connectivity issues, my dear friend and colleague Sharon Elise. She is our CFA Associate Vice President for Racial and Social Justice South, and our chapter rep for the Council of Racial and Social Justice, and also part of the bargaining team. With that, I have to say that I hope your 2022 and the new semester are off to a good start, although those words are kind of hard to hear, off to a good start, what it means because of all the challenges that the ongoing pandemic and the repopulation of our campus entail. I'm excited though to share with you, and a reason to celebrate in all this, some great news from our faculty labor union. As you know, CFA is the only collective bargaining representative for all tenure track, lecturer, faculty, counselors, librarians, and coaches of all of California State University system. We are in all 23 campuses, and we are 29,000 strong. CFA continuously honors its commitment to fighting for our faculty, standing up for our students, and to make our university a better place to work and learn. We do this through contract negotiations, promoting academic freedom, defending our precious faculty rights as we continue our ongoing journey for racial and social justice. After 22 months of ongoing work negotiating our collective bargaining agreement, extending our CBA, bargaining, online meetings with our members, petitioning our president to tell Chancellor Castro to settle a fair contract, writing on our campus and online, providing public comment at the November's Board of Trustees meeting, continue negotiations between the CFA bargaining team and CSU management, we have reached a tentative agreement. And I want to emphasize, this has been the result of collective work and the constant, dedicated, and relentless work of the CFA bargaining team, to which I have great appreciation and respect. Our TA, or tentative agreement, reflects our faculty labor union's commitment to defending bread and butter issues through a racial and social justice lens. One is not done without the other. Our fight was for rights, respect, and justice, and this TA has something for everyone, from salary increases to the recognition and compensation for cultural taxation. And I want to ask you to consider carefully that the CSU system has been completely unwilling to budge for nearly 2 years of contract negotiations, but faculty actions on campuses and at the BOT meetings, as well as community and political pressure, has forced CSU management to reconsider their stance. So I will give the floor to Sharon. I see she's joined us. Sharon, are you able to take it from here? And I will say this, Sharon has been a relentless warrior in all this fight, because it was really a fight in our CFA bargaining team. And she's here with us today, despite her busy schedule, to tell us more about this bargaining, this tentative agreement. Are you able to jump in, Sharon? Is she online? Okay, well, if we can share, and I will take it, I will continue. If Sharon can join us, great. If not, I will tell you, I will share with you a summary of what we have gained. And if we could have that flyer that we prepare for us to share today. We have gained 3,500 COVID Service Award that is prorated based on time-based for the academic year 2021, as a year when we quickly pivoted to teach to switch from face-to-face to online teaching. We also negotiated 4% general salary increase for this year, 2021-22 year, retroactive to July 1st. Of your hiring anniversary. We also have on this tentative agreement another 4% GSI contingent on the state budget for the 2022-23 academic year, 2 rounds of service salary increases. We also have a 2.65% post-promotion increase for full professors. And as you know, when you're promoted to full professor, you know, that's the last opportunity you have for a salary increase. So we negotiated a salary increase for PPI. We also have an agreement on reopener negotiations for salary increases for 23-24. And 3 years of salary range elevation that expands eligibility to many more lecturer and librarian faculty on temporary contracts with at least 6 years of full-time adjusted service. I will pause here to give you a chance to reflect on all these gains. But we also have to recognize that these gains are not only in salary increases, we also have work that we've done and is the result of our anti-racism and social justice work. The CSU system has agreed to a joint work group tasked with producing a report on all forms of parental support in the CSU that includes, thank you, that includes suggested improvements along with cost estimates. We will need to continue to put pressure on the CSU because we deserve better parental support, but at least they're acknowledging they could do better. And this is a pathway to improvement. I also would like to share with you, if you can drop in the chat, a link to our tentative agreement. Thank you. And I also want to encourage you to vote. Of course, I want to encourage you to vote yes, because this is a unique tentative agreement. The voting on ratifying this tentative agreement has already started and will continue through February 2nd at noon. If you have not yet received the link, please contact us, Sharon or myself. If you're not a member, please become a member. And you will see a link to that form to become a member. You also know, and I want to remind you too, that there are opportunities for us to discuss this tentative agreement, have questions, concerns. You can share those during the meetings that we're holding, the ratification meetings that we're holding this week and next week to answer those questions and concerns. There's a link for you to register, and I know that Adrian is looking for it. She probably drop it in the chat. Thank you, Adrian. Along with the dates, we have our first one yesterday. We have one today at 6 o'clock. And then next week, we have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 opportunities for you to participate and ask questions. I want to, again, emphasize that we need to take time to understand the agreement, of course. But this tentative agreement has so many gains, and the gains are part of our collective effort. Once again, it's not part of one person being representative of CFA. It's the whole bargaining team, and it's also the collective efforts on our 23 different campuses. So I want to commend the work that we have done together with the bargaining team in moving us forward. And I will pause now for a minute. I know we have a little bit of time to maybe, and I'm looking at Yvonne now. I don't know if we have time for questions, but I will say, if you have any questions, any concerns, any issues you would like to consult with us, I am eager and willing to talk to you. You can reach me at my campus email, and we can take it from there. I always say, and you will see it in some of my communications every Monday or Tuesday, that I may not have answers to all the questions that we have. Who has them, right? But I will do my best to consult and find the answer to your concerns and questions. So with that, I will pause. I want to check if Sharon has joined us. Unfortunately, she's been having internet connectivity issues, as we have experienced at some point during this pandemic. But if not, then I'll pause and give you the floor for questions if time allows. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that very much. We're not exactly set up for questions since the chat is disabled, but I am hoping Sharon could log on in the next minute or so. Let's see now. Has she joined us? Do you see her?
She's been, I would see her for a few seconds and then she will disappear. So she's definitely having issues today.
Okay. Well, what I will absolutely reiterate is for folks to reach out to you, to Sharon, attend the sessions, the informational sessions about the tentative agreement as well, because when is the last day that folks can vote, Michelle, on the tentative agreement? February 2nd.
It's going to be a very quick turnaround. If this tentative agreement is ratified, we might be able to see salary increases starting March 1st on our March 1st paycheck. So I know this pandemic has impacted all of us, and financially it's been an issue as well. So it's another reason why we should ratify it. And again, please attend one of the meetings, all the meetings, as many meetings as you can. Get informed, read the TA, ask questions, and make sure that you vote. And if you're not a member, we know that you can vote if you're a member, so become a member. There's a link to do that, and vote. Voting is important, against, and this we know, although there are certain factions in our community that are not in agreement with that. Voting for us is very important, so make your vote count and vote yes. Thank you, Yvonne, and happy spring semester and a very successful one, healthy one to everyone.
Thank you, Michelle, for that information, and it particularly timely too, since voting just opened up and the turnaround is so quick. I do have one quick question you may not be able to answer. It's rather granular about the tentative agreement, but I think many folks are curious. Is there any part of the contract that would require folks to apply for a program like the 2037, which was no, that was the wrong article, apologies, but any program that folks would have to submit an application to get any sort of compensation or a raise or anything like that? Can you speak to that, or is that better addressed in one of the information sessions?
That is better addressed at some of the informational sessions, but it's a really good question. And I know there are certain items in the TA that have been institutionalized. So, I don't want to give you an answer that is wrong right now. We'll have to see how the process will go from here.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And I am sorry that Sharon wasn't able to join us, because I know that the thought was that she had many more details of the TA understood so she could share it with us. But that's Definitely. Okay. We will move on to our President Newfeld speaking. Thank you, Michelle, again. I am so pleased to introduce our president, Dr. Ellen Newfeld, whose her entire career in higher education has really centered on student success and social mobility. Dr. Newfeld became the 4th president of Cal State San Marcos in July of 2019. And since she came here, she has worked hard to engage with the entire campus community and get to know our students, faculty, staff, alumni, and community partners. And since March 2020, when this pandemic era of ours started, she has led our campus through so many challenges and impacts with an eye really focused on the future of our students, our campus, and our region. I am so pleased to welcome President Ellen Newfeld to our faculty assembly. Good morning, President Newfeld.
Oh, good morning, and thank you, Yvonne. It's so good to see you, even if it's on Zoom. Appreciate that everybody's here this morning and that we can gather together one way or another. And as we have done in true San Marcos style, we are rolling with the circumstances and the situation. And also so glad to hear from Michelle this morning, and very excited that hopefully an agreement is soon to be ratified and reached. So glad it's for the well-being of our faculty and our system and everyone involved. So congratulations for that. I really appreciate the opportunity to have this assembly. And I was thinking about that and the fact that I've gotten to be a part of it. And this is actually my 3rd, which is hard for me to believe. 2 out of 3 from my home office. So I will warn you, my partner here, Bailey, Bailey being the dog, of course, in case you thought he was a human. Bailey the dog is here in my lap. I do have on his blue sequin bow tie in case he decides to join us, but I have had a big talk with him that he is to stay off camera this morning. Unfortunately, he keeps me very humble, so I'm not sure how that will work, but we'll see what happens. And I really also want to welcome Dr. Anne Bersie. You know, from the moment I met Anne early when I came, you know, and Dr. Bersie, your commitment to our university, our faculty, and faculty excellence and our students is really unmatched, and just so excited that we're going to hear from Dr. Veronica Anover later, our Great Bill awardee. And I remember meeting Dr. Anover when I first came and could feel the enthusiasm and passion. So much more to come. And I think I'm standing in between the great presentation. So I will keep moving. I do, though, want to say I've already got my background up for this afternoon as, you know, just a shameless advertising that I hope that all of you can join us for our faculty and staff awards today. I got to personally Zoom briefly with the folks that were winning these awards and just so deserving. It's one of the best things I get to do as president is these awards, and so committees have worked so hard. So many wonderful awardees, and the service awards, which is just amazing as well. All the people that have given so much time and effort to our university. So if you can get on the Zoom again, have a bite of lunch or brunch after this, we will be at 1 p.m. and can't wait to honor more people this afternoon. So, you know, as I think about the year we're going into, it brings always a different range of circumstances and challenges. And who knew? Yes, I've heard Yvonne say it, and it can't help but be a bit of a theme. Who knew that we really would be 2 years in? And someone said to me, you know, think about where we were at this time 2 years ago. And we were hearing, I remember on New Year's Eve, hearing about this you know, illness, you know, overseas in China, and you know what that would possibly mean for us. I don't think my imagination ever could really have gone that far, and we are almost 2 years into this. And you know, I have to think about how grateful I am for how you've responded, and I acknowledge. I'm not trying to say it has been easy. I'm not saying we haven't had conflict. I'm not saying that anyone hasn't walked their own personal journey of humanity through this, not at all. But I am appreciative of all that we've done and brought together. I think Yvonne talking about the forum, and that people are willing to come together and work together. That states who we are and who we're going to be going forward. I hate to pretend anymore that I'm a public health expert, but I'm going to give it just a small try as we get started this morning. That public health officials, including the ones that we that consult with at the CSU, says that hopefully we are meeting the peak here in California this week, and we are even San Diego seems to be even ahead of the rest of the state, and so positive cases are beginning to wane. I know that's really hard to think about when so much is happening right this minute, but it does look like there is some glimmer of good news on the horizon. I know that everybody is probably curious, and I'm going to own, as am I, is are we still set to come back on February 7th? And right now we are, and we're going to watch it and we're going to monitor it. And I'm sure I'm going to have many more meetings at the system level, and we'll work with our county partners, and we're going to monitor and update you. It is going to be, again, one of those moments where we're going to be getting information real time. We're going to try and make sure we get everything to you as early as we can. And I know that there is, for our faculty, that our colleagues in academic affairs will be getting some information out to you even this week and as we go into next week. And for those of you from the entire campus, we will keep the information flowing. But thank you for making this one more temporary shift online. And Yvonne mentioned you did this faced with your own personal struggles, and I'm going to repeat some of the words she said, that I hope you were able to have some respite over the break. And I know that it probably for many was a difficult holiday, and I am not going to probably stay too long in talking about that today. It doesn't mean I don't acknowledge all the journey that we've been through. We have shared many challenges together, but even as we walk around, I've heard the saying is, do we even dare wish somebody a happy new year? Understanding that by this point, what we hope for is that COVID would be in our rearview mirror. I'm just going to apologize for a minute. I had a very difficult holiday, and I am having a little bit of trouble pivoting. So I'm going to pivot right now, and I'm just going to ask you to ignore this a little bit as we move into the hope of the future. And I really apologize. So I'm going to show you my dog right now, because he is my sidekick, and he wore his bow tie to come and dress up for this morning to be with all of you. I'm so sorry.
We're with you, President Newfeld. We're with you. I think we all feel similar.
Yeah, this was not my plan today. In fact, I had taken anything personal out of any comments I was going to make to you so that this would not happen this fine morning. But I do want to talk to you a bit this morning about hope. And I'll say maybe I'm going to do it for me, but I know that we all need it as we move through. So please bear with me. I am slightly embarrassed, and really appreciate your words, Yvonne, and appreciate that you have stayed here as we keep walking. So I have been thinking a lot about hope as we come through the year, and I wanted, which feels so silly as I am not portraying that in my inflection, but I wanted to share hope with you today. So I'm going to give it a try. If I fail at it, we'll just stop. But, part of what gives me hope and makes me think about hope is I was reading, and I have always stayed interested in Amanda Gorham. ever since she spoke at the inauguration. She, as you probably know, was our youngest ever inaugural speaker and spoke at, recited one of her poems at Joe Biden's inauguration. And she, her newest poem, New Day's Lyric, she really speaks to the time we're in. It's amazing to me because she's 23. And at 23, I can't even imagine being this beautifully thoughtful or writing poet. Well, I can't imagine myself writing poetry now. I can only appreciate it. But what she brings and the wisdom she brings. And her new poem was published on the end of at the end of December. It's called A New Day's Lyric, and it celebrates the beginning of 2022. And I think it's important that we decide to not deny the pain of the pandemic and all the journeys that we go through, but also celebrate and think ahead of where we're going. And she writes, hope is our door, our portal, even if we never get back to normal. Someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what is normal, but reach for what is next. And she captures so beautifully what we do here, and we think about the hope for our future. And even if there can really never be, that return to normal. And I know that these last 20 months have been hard. And I'm hoping that this morning, I don't know how inspirational I'm going to be, but I'm hoping to remind us all about our work and why it matters and why it's so important about reaching for what is next. Okay. So, even as we all walk our journeys, obviously, including me, about what has been difficult, something in this moment that I am so excited about is what is next for us. That is not a cliche. I think sometimes, when it gets hard, it makes me so much more committed to what we're doing. And, I think about what Amanda wrote so beautifully, let us not return to what is normal, but reach toward what is next. That's what this university has done in its history, for its life, and all of those things. And, as we reach toward our future, I think about this probably shows a little bit about what a nerd act can be, although no disrespect to nerds at all. But I think about our new strategic plan, and I really do, when I read it and what's coming, and I know we've had a semester to read the draft. It really speaks to where higher education needs to go and how we're a leader for that. And I just have to thank all of you for being a part of it. And so many of you added comments and suggestions and so much during the break. And for our Carl Kemnitz and Regina Basu, Ranjita, even from India, worked meticulously through your comments and took extra time to do it. And they let me know personally that whether you provided it in a forum, a World Cafe, an email, via the website, that it was so thoughtfully reviewed, and just really make sure it was included. So the steering committee will be meeting, I think it's tomorrow, to look at the final draft. And then we are going to move forward to launch that plan. Some of you have said to me, where is it? But that doesn't mean the work together and our progress is over, because we've got the whole implementation and how it happens. Right now, it really is beautiful aspirational words on paper, and we're going to bring it to life. I really have been inspired by your comments, and from the day I came, what you've told me about the commitment to student success, or I know I've said this before, when you send a note about a student in your classroom, or how you've involved students in your research, you've really described what is social mobility. And that's something I'm very passionate about as well. And student success, but also, academic excellence, research excellence, how we innovate, Sustainability, and I've heard a lot about sustainability, and people have really helped raise my awareness. And serving our community. Through it all, you've made sure that everything has inclusive excellence as a part of it. To achieve all this doesn't mean that it's going to be easier, that we won't have disagreements, or that we won't need to really work through the debate of what sometimes I call the academy, because we're going to work through to make sure that we have that this is attainable, and that our strategic plan fosters equitable opportunities for everyone. And against the backdrop of the pandemic and the challenges of being an institution of higher education, what we do and what so many of you have done for 32 years have never been more important. You know, for us here at CSUSM, for the world, it's a defining moment in our history. And that's why, to me, it's so important that we talk about hope and what's next and where we're going and the excitement of it. You know, I think about coming here and being a part of this special place, and it hasn't always been easy. And many of you have appropriately challenged me, and the world has challenged. But when I came here, at the time, I felt like I won the lottery, and I still do. And it's not about easy. It's not about not having disagreement. It's about being a part of a community where we focus on what's right and student success. And that's a solid part of our foundation. I'm again going to promise you that I won't always get it right. Many of you and many other parts of life have given me the opportunity to look in the mirror and reassess. And that's always going to be the continual commitment from me. And I'm going to ask that it's the continual commitment from all of us as we move forward. I reflect back still on day one. Well, it wasn't quite day one. It was visit one on that day in April. And I saw that every single person was committed to the mission. And sometimes we really have to, think about the way we go about it. And we may have disagreements. And some of them can be pretty steep about how we get there. But I really haven't met anybody that is not committed to the mission. And those themes for care for and service for our students from all of their backgrounds, it is what it's been continually shared with me from that first time I came in April until right now. And you've showed me the way you provide our students wraparound learning and holistic support, particularly for special populations and upper division students who engage in community service learning, undergraduate research, and mentorship. I was thinking about it. This is some place where we get to be, where we are so fortunate because we get to change lives, and all of the lives that all of you have touched. So many of you have let me know how hard it is and that this is not just a job, it's personal. And it's not just a career, but a calling. And through our efforts together, after our students graduate, they go on to do many, many wonderful things. I talked about in my report to the community, Julianna Ortiz, and she graduated in 2018. Her mentor, of course, was Dr. Rebecca Perrin. I think the first time I remember meeting Rebecca, I was meeting her puppy, who is now a full-grown large dog. But Rebecca takes the time, to, just like all of you, to support her students. And she really supported Julianna in her entrepreneurial dreams. And of course, Julianna, I have to talk about her because she does something that is really near and dear to my taste buds. She owns 2 gourmet ice cream shops, and I love ice cream. And so she was a teen mom, and she went back to school, and now she's a role model for her daughter. But she's also a role model for her employees because she always sends the message about going to college. And I always think about her and that this is really social mobility in action. And this is what's described over and over and over again. And, over the break, I got an email that was sent to several people from Linda Pershing, a professor emerita here. And she shared really what the beauty is of what we get to do. She still engages with her students. She retired in 2017. And over the holidays, she was sharing that she sent them an email asking for an update on their lives. The response was overwhelming. Over 25 students replied with stories of graduate school and career success, marriages and babies, and rich lives that have taken them abroad or kept them right here close to home. And they're now lawyers, environmental scholars and activists, educators, medical and health professions, and much more. And it's not just about the profession, but the way they come to their profession and their purpose and how they affect the community. Knowing the difficulties and obstacles that many of our students face, that all of us have faced, boy, probably many of our students never need more support, all of us, than right now. And it was thrilling to see how many are now impacting the world, their values, and all they've learned. So for me, what's exciting about the strategic planning process is really that continued and impact of what we do and the strengths we bring. And, you know, where we can lead and innovate and excel together. I get to meet with a lot of local leaders, and I finally got to get out of the house last semester, which was good for me and Bailey, because he got to go to daycare, which he likes a little bit better than staying at home with me in my study while I Zoom. And I got to visit with community leaders, from our Innovate 78 leaders to our mayor in San Diego, not our mayor, but the mayor in San Diego, to people across the region. And one of the things that really came through was how important, you know, our community connections are and how well we're serving others. And they talked about, you know, the importance of also thinking about what's next in this pandemic and how do we serve a community of adult learners or military members, people that are finding new purpose. And where are we in serving them? And, you know, there are many things that are already happening on our campus when we think about that. And, you know, just a random statistic, but an important one, is that the San Diego EDC indicated that 42% of new jobs will require a degree or credential. The other thing they show is that the people in many of the jobs now really are more homogeneous. And we're the university that can really help provide that diverse workforce that is so needed to change communities and professions themselves. And, you know, so they've asked us to think about things like modality and hybrid, things you've already been thinking about and learning during the pandemic. And we've got some examples already happening right now. Our accelerated RN to BSN program, which you know, recently was ranked #1 in California and 5 in the US, is a great example of this. And we also have our accelerated online sociology program. It's another great example in springboarding students into success careers in education, healthcare, business, law enforcement, and so much more. So, you know, when we think about the strategic plan, you know, we can think about more programs like that. Now, mind you, I'm always careful as the president. I'm not thinking or dictating programs like that, but we have the room to dream about it together. You know, many of you said during this process, and even before that, is that we had this, in the early days of Cal State San Marcos, we had a robust academic blueprint for our future. And, you know, it's really the time to revisit that plan. And so I'll be looking to you, our faculty, along with, you know, Provost Chemnitz and our deans, for your leadership and how we create that and where we go next together. And that's really going to be a key as we talk about how we emerge from the pandemic and meet the needs of our students in our region in alignment, of course, with our institutional values. Obviously, you know, many people talk to me as president about, you know, leading from values, but it's something here that I know that we and you do every day. You know, something that makes our university so special in our region is really that niche of supporting students from all backgrounds. No other university really does it in this region or in many places beyond in the way we do. And, you know, an example of that is in our STEM field. And we know there continues in STEM fields to be wide gender, racial, and ethnic diversity gaps. And over the past decades, you've shown your leadership in increasing diversity across all disciplines. And that the Hispanic Serving Institution Grant, allowed us to initiate our engineering program back in 2018. And that's a great example of what we're doing here. And most of you know that we got another 5-year, nearly $5 million HSI STEM grant to help us expand our program offerings to now offer computer engineering. And as we strive to build out our high demand programs, we're going to need to grow our facilities. And, I will say as president, a really happy point for me was in November, the Board of Trustees of the CSU placed our integrated sciences and engineering building at the top of the priority list for funding. I will say, and this is being recorded, so I have to be careful, but I think there were some that were thinking, well, how did we get there? But it's your good work. And we were allocated $2 million to already begin the planning. And with the governor's, January announcement of the first iteration of the budget, it looks like we're well on our way to having that building become a reality. And the vision for that building is a state-of-the-art research facility with instructional office and collaboration spaces that will benefit the entire campus community. And fundraising will be a key to that. So I noticed that Vice President Jessica Berger was on, and she, along with our foundation board and interim Dean Trishman and C-STEM faculty and many others, all of us will need to help and rally the support for fundraising for that building. But this new facility isn't just about C-STEM. It's about how we can able to accommodate and engage students across the discipline and backgrounds, which is in the end what it's all about, how we work together, the interdisciplinary, and making more space and thinking about, then what happens in our next facilities. And I find it really exciting, as we think about this is what's happening with the tech ecosystem as it's migrating toward North County. And that is really an important thing for the university as we go into the future. Our campus is already proving to be a nucleus of growth, as seen by the tremendous change taking place in the city of San Marcos. And I get to watch Kaiser Hospital right from my window in my office. I have a better view than probably anyone at Kaiser. And while our next building is focused at the moment on integrated science and engineering building, it's exciting to envision what we need across the campus. I got to go to this wonderful piano recital, actually music recital in December in person. And I know for those students, they'd waited so long to do that. And such talent. And I know that I learned and have learned since I came that we need more space in the fine arts, and we could go program by program and across the campus. So not only do we have an academic master plan, but we need a facilities master plan. And we need to be able to examine our facilities and look at all the exciting opportunities that are happening across our campus. And one more I'll mention, and I know that I don't want to take too much more time, but is the exciting opportunities we have for our students in housing. The governor put forward an affordable housing plan, something I've never seen in any other state that would affect campuses the way it could affect us. And we put in a proposal for that for housing on our campus. And we're one of the top 5 in the system moving forward to the state to request funding. Another piece of good news from that November board meeting, I think I just want to freeze that particular meeting on facilities and grounds in time. And that would be such a game changer for our students. And we also are partnering with North City on dining and housing across the street. And they're moving on a pretty aggressive timeline. So we could see something as early as this fall. But the key to that is, again, the word affordable. I've never been somewhere where the state has funded housing. That's usually all private pay through the students. So through partnerships and working with the state and the CSU, that's really a big deal for our students. There's so much more happening, and we think about aligning all this with the great work that we're doing in research. And I know that we submitted, my dog got bored, he yawned, so I know I've got to hurry up at this point, that we think about where we're going in research, and that you submitted over 200 proposals last year in the middle of a pandemic. We requested more than 110 million in external funding from 80 unique sponsors. But again, what makes that so special is how you're involving undergraduate and graduate students in our work. And the new Innovation Hub, we received a $250,000 grant from Conrad Previs to outfit it. And hopefully soon we can actually take a tour of it. But even more important is the Faculty Innovation Fellows Program. And just briefly, I want to share with you what some of your colleagues are doing. So much of the good work, just like all of you. So for our Innovation Fellows, here's the first group and what they're working on. Holly Hampton, the head of user services in our library, is researching social innovations in academic libraries in order to implement strategies to promote a more empowered, engaged, and fulfilled employee and user experience for our community. She's working to help and care and help each other out. Dr. Carlos Luna, assistant professor in biological sciences, is working to incorporate drug delivery in face masks. This is an important step toward incorporating biotechnology into personal protective equipment, and undergraduate students will be involved in this research. Our undergraduate students are being involved in the next phase of public health, and as we come out through an endemic phase of this pandemic. Matthew Mincy, nursing lecturer, is exploring the educational and community benefits of incorporating mobile health unit into the student learning experiences across all schools and departments in the College of Education, Health, and Human Services. Dr. Paola Amento, assistant professor of management, is developing a social enterprise incubation program with two main goals. First, to educate and train students about what social innovation is, which couldn't be more important. And second, to help students create and run their own social enterprise. And Lucy H.G. Solomon, associate professor of media design, is creating the Ocean Biome Box, which draws on the research of Dr. Betsy Reed in biological sciences to stimulate the biotic elements of the ocean, including the unique sea algae that blooms in response to environmental shifts. The project will be integrated into undergrad research across the art and science. This work is just really a small highlight of all that you're doing, tying in what's happening right now in this moment. And I will say, as you can see, I am the first one to say it's hard and really it sucks sometimes right now. But what we're doing together is so hopeful. And I probably didn't do the greatest job this morning, but I really wanted to focus on the hope. Something else I just mentioned as I draw to a close is Giving Day. You brought so many projects to bear. You brought Giving Day to life with all the important projects of this university. Some examples was the Ethnic Studies Community Builders Fund, the CSUM Belize Archaeological Field Research Station, the Library Affordable Text Cookbook Campaign, the Dreamer Resource Center, and many, many, many more, like we've never seen in Giving Day. And we broke a record. We raised over almost $500,000 in Giving Day, and we're among the top in the CSU. Because these projects mattered, you brought them together, and you brought our success together, again, in the middle of this difficult moment. So, as I close, I can't predict the future. I can promise this. There are more hard times ahead. There are more days that suck. There are more moments where we might all want to pull the sheets over our head. But working together, and through the strategic plan, we are going to stay focused on this beautiful university, the academic blueprint, the facilities master plan, because we change lives. So, and I can also promise there are more disagreements ahead, but we're going to make sure it's an inspiring workplace for our faculty and staff, an anchor for our region, an incubator of excellence everywhere on campus. And we are going to show once again this world how higher education should be done to better our world. And that is what our world needs. The lives you touch, that's a gift to all of us, but so much more a gift to them. Our students are our collective future. So I'm excited not to return to what was, but to reach for what's next. And I really appreciate your patience with me this morning as I got off to a bit of a rocky start in my comments to you. But thank you for the time. And Yvonne, I might have run over my time slot a little bit this morning, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to gather with you. I am so thrilled to see all of you this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Newfeld, and thank you for your remarks. And I think we're all feeling similar, so I don't think there's anything to apologize for there. I have noted down on the agenda that you are to introduce Dr. Enover for her
I
remarks.
sure am. I got so wrapped up in things, and that's the highlight of what I get to do. So thank you.
On.
And I could not be more excited, Dr. Enover, to get to introduce you. You know, when I think about all that I just got to mention, the Break Bill awardee really epitomizes what it means to be that wonderful, innovative, creative, caring faculty member at CSUSM. And I can't think of a more deserving person than Dr. Veronica Enover, professor of French and Spanish in the Department of Modern Language Studies in the College of Humanities, Arts, Behavioral, and Social Sciences. And Dr. Enover, you know, one of the things I think I told you when we were beginning, one of the things I noticed from the moment I met her is what a passionate educator she is. And she's taught across all levels of the curriculum in both French and Spanish, always exploring new and creative methods to guide students and instill in them a love of learning new languages and cultures outside of their own. Focused throughout her career on holistic student success, Dr. Enover not only serves as a faculty advisor for many student organizations, but she endowed a scholarship fund for students interested in studying abroad in France, an effort she launched in memory of a former student. In the words of a colleague, Dr. Enover encourages students to stretch themselves, reach for high standards, and believe in themselves. And she inspires them and connects them with resources and opportunities on campus so their college experience is rich and well supported. And she is so well respected by her peers. Dr. Enover has authored 3 major textbooks and published numerous ancillary materials. And she has contributed significantly to our university through service on college and university-wide committees, academic senate, and the faculty center. Her creativity, deep understanding of pedagogy, and commitment to student needs are reflected in all that she does. But perhaps even more significant, again, I go back to the passion, vision, hard work, and positive spirit she has brought our campus since arriving in 1999. And Dr. Enover, my dog Bailey, woke up and is ready to hear from you. So Dr. Enover, it is my great pleasure to welcome you here to share your work. Please join me in congratulating her on this so well-deserved award.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this warm and kind welcome and introduction. I would like to start by thanking Dr. Anne Bersie, daughter of Mr. Harry Brickbill, for establishing this award named after her father that recognizes the accomplishments of faculty in teaching, research, and service. It is truly an honor for me to enter the ranks of faculty who have been recognized for their accomplishments with this prestigious award. I would like to continue by thanking President Newfeld for selecting me as this year's recipient of the Brickbill Distinguished Professor Award. I'm extremely humbled to be joining the list of awardees, my distinguished colleagues whom I admire much. I would like to express my most sincere gratitude to the person who believed in me and took the time to nominate me. When I read the nomination letter, it moved me deeply. I am very grateful to the members of the award selection committee for their thorough and careful review of my dossier and for recommending my name for this award. I realize that this award is competitive and I am humbled to have been recommended among other nominees. I am indebted to my colleagues and community partners who supported my nomination with their compelling letters. Without their support, I would not be speaking here today. And of course, last but not least, my dear students, I would like to thank them from the bottom of my heart for the beautiful and touching letters that they wrote on my behalf as soon as they knew that I had been nominated. See, I'm getting like you, President Newfeld, for this award. When I read their beautiful words, I told all of them that I felt like I had already won the award. Please allow me to dedicate this award to them, my students, and to my son. I would like to dedicate it also to my son, who is currently a college student and who was once my student, in spite of him, when he was at home and we were doing endless hours of homework. I would like to thank all of you whom I was hoping to see in person today. Your presence on the other side of the screen means a lot to me. Thank you. Okay, you see, teaching is my raison d'être. I would not know what else to do if it were not for teaching. At a very young age, I knew what I wanted to be already in preschool, a teacher. My identity was defined very, very early on by my passion for instructing others. Some kids want to be firefighters or lawyers. I wanted to be a teacher. I used the door of my bedroom as a whiteboard to teach languages, first to my teddy bears, and later on, when I could have play dates, to my neighbors and friends. Yes, that meant that when you would come to my house for a play date, you knew that you would eat crêpes first. My mother always had crêpes ready for everyone. And then you would receive a crash course in French or Spanish, depending on the country where I was. My teddy bears were aligned on my bed in rows. I would take attendance. I had previously prepared lesson plans, created mini language manuals, and I would even send teddy bears to detention for disruptive behavior. I am happy to report that I have never had to do this my entire career. My real students' academic conduct is exemplary. I assigned homework to my playdates/students, grades, and even prizes and awards. I put them to work in groups and call their names to participate. In retrospect, I am surprised that they were diligently listening to my classes and sitting in rows on the floor. Perhaps they did all of that because they knew that they were getting crêpes with Nutella. When I first started teaching my teddy bears using chalk on my bedroom door, the powder of the chalk would pile up on the wood floor under my door. To my mother's despair, the wood floor on that section of the house where my bedroom was always covered in chalk powder. At the end, she decided to buy colored chalk when she saw that I was not going to give up my teaching addiction. She fed into it. My lessons became multicolored, and it was like adding a multimedia component to them. What a discovery. I could color-coded my lessons and highlight important information. Unfortunately, I cannot say that my teachers in Europe inspired me. Most of them were distant, somewhat careless, and yes, at times, a little intimidating. They detracted me from showing interest on certain disciplines, and they made me doubt of my skills. No one had heard of the growing mindset back then or how teachers are supposed to help students believe in themselves. Nevertheless, my years of schooling made me even more convinced that I needed to pursue a career in academics so that I could be the teacher or the professor I did not have. I wanted to be the teacher I was back in my room, teaching languages to my neighbors on the back of my bedroom door. I was determined to make a difference in my students' lives and to never teach the way I was taught. Florida State University gave me the opportunity to become a graduate teaching assistant while pursuing my doctorate. And that was a revelation. I studied formally how is a second language acquired and what are the best pedagogical practices. I was lucky enough to have wonderful mentors, TA coordinators, and professors who gave me many opportunities to explore in order to succeed and to fail as well. That is when I realized that I wanted to have a career teaching in the US, where students were offered opportunities and resources to help them succeed, and where I could be part of that success. As I was finishing my PhD, I was offered a job as a lecturer at Oregon State University, teaching French literature and coordinating the first-year Spanish program. I am very thankful to have had that job because I wore many teaching and administrative hats. I also went from teaching students from the southeast of the United States to teaching students from the Northwest. Their needs were very different as well as their backgrounds. I learned to adjust and to reinvent myself as a teacher. One of many constant transformations that we as educators may do in order to better serve our students. We must not be stagnant, as new generations are constantly changing. In 1999, I found my dream job at Cal State San Marcos. The French program was emerging and the university was growing strong. I immediately saw how I could professionally grow with our campus, a challenge and an opportunity. When I had my campus interview and I taught my first class, I immediately connected with the students and I knew that is where I wanted to be. I also realized the many ways I could collaborate with colleagues across disciplines and divisions. As I just mentioned, what attracted me about Cal State San Marcos was the fact that I had room to grow professionally in many different areas, and that is still true today. Indeed, I am very grateful for all the opportunities I have been offered over the years to serve our campus and our local community. I have had wonderful mentors during my junior years with whom I collaborated, not only conducting research, but who also encouraged me to seek leadership positions. I have tried to find opportunities that would always help me improve as a teacher and as a scholar. I remember fondly my time at the Faculty Center, first when I served as faculty fellow for online teaching and learning, and then as interim co-director. It was an honor to support my colleagues and a pleasure to meet new faculty while learning new pedagogical approaches and teaching techniques, which I later applied in my classrooms. Not to mention what a wonderful team the Faculty Center has to work with. When I served as interim faculty director of service learning, I was given the opportunity to promote among faculty one of my strongest beliefs: teaching through caring and learning through serving or doing. I also had the immense privilege to meet the most compassionate and generous community partners and faculty. I became a better teacher in this area, particularly assigning reflections with more critical thinking components and assessing them more accurately. Going back to why I chose CSUSM to build my career was the fact that it was different from other campuses where I had taught before. Indeed, being a new campus at the time, I could develop an entire program from the ground up. In fact, I was hired to build a French minor, since at the time, the French program only offered 3 lower division courses: French 101, 102, and 201. Last semester, French offered 11 sections, and it will be offering 10 sections this semester of lower and upper division courses. Since there were only 3 French courses, those are the ones that I taught, and occasionally I would teach Spanish courses too, until I created new ones in French. Nevertheless, introductory courses are my favorite because when students come without any prior knowledge or very little exposure of the languages and cultures that I teach, I am able to instill in them my passion for those languages and cultures. And that gives me the greatest joy. Seeing my students empowered by speaking a foreign language and curious about another culture is a very powerful feeling for them, and that makes me so proud of them. As a result of me teaching introductory courses, my research took a turn from literature to second language acquisition, and that is how I started developing first-year textbooks and manuals. Although I was fortunate enough to have received support from my parents to obtain my bachelor's degree, neither one of them were able to graduate from a 4-year institution. I know what it means to hold a degree and to be the first one to do so. It is a big responsibility, and at the same time, it comes with a lot of gratitude. Many of our students are not as fortunate as I was getting the support they need to achieve an education. It appeared clear to me from that first day during my campus interview that student success was at the center of the mission of the university, and it still remains today, so that students could achieve their education. The campus did not provide as many resources as it offers today. However, I was very impressed by the energy, the passion, and the dedication of the staff and the faculty to make this campus a place where students were seeing their dreams of acquiring a degree come true. 20 plus years later, and after having served in many different roles and in different departments and divisions, I am even more impressed to see what it takes for our students to have their dreams come true. It still takes a lot of passion and dedication and hard work. It takes many task forces, initiatives, standing committees, resources and support centers, lots of innovation and care, just to name a few, to make our students' dreams come true. Our students come to Cal State San Marcos to receive an education, while at the same time, many of them hold unemployment to pay for their degrees. Many of them also have families to support and obligations outside of the classroom. Many seek social mobility and a betterment of life. Unfortunately, many encounter challenges on the way, such as financial hardships, food insecurity, or home insecurity. Now, with the pandemic, our students have experienced health issues themselves or their loved ones, and even losses. I have seen firsthand how everyone in this campus has reacted to these challenges and hardships, and how much energy and dedication has been deployed to help our students get an education and receive their degrees. I am proud of my contributions, along with all of yours, to help our students graduate in spite of the adversity some of them face. With our current situation, the pandemic, and the limitations it has imposed upon us, I worry about our students not being engaged, and therefore they might feel that they do not belong to our campus community. One of the causes for students leaving college before graduation is social isolation, which in turn results in poor academic performance. That is why, and in spite of what we are living today, it is so important to engage our students in our research, in service learning, in internships, in extracurricular activities, study abroad. By being included in this type of activities, students might feel more integrated and they might feel more connected. Their academic performances might improve too. This is one of the ways that I use to connect with my students and to show them that I care about them. I always remind them not to limit their horizons and to keep them wide open to opportunities outside of the classroom. More than ever, it is crucial that we establish individual connections with our students and that we provide a more personable and customized support to them, as I know that these are key to assuring their academic success. Showing our students that we care has proven to be most effective for their success. I would like to acknowledge the positive impact my students have had on me as a faculty, and hopefully the impact I have had on them. Learning a foreign language is scary, or it can be. There is a stigma about it. I know it firsthand because I had to learn English, but also when I was a teaching assistant and I was my students' age, I would sit with them 15 minutes before class started on the first day of the semester, and I would pretend that I was one of them. I would start conversations about being nervous and being worried about learning a language. Among the students who sat next to me, invariably, half of them agreed with me. They were petrified about being in a foreign language class. It is not just because learning a language poses its challenges. It is the fear of mispronouncing a word and sounding or looking ridiculous in front of everyone. The fear of talking like a baby, particularly in beginners courses. The fear of not knowing how to express oneself. The fear of not understanding what is happening, what is said, what is asked of them to do. The fear of being out of their comfort zone. All of that can be very intimidating. I realized early on the importance of creating a safe and comforting learning environment for students to feel like they were in a place where making mistakes was encouraged and where no one looked ridiculous for that. I tell my students that we learn from making mistakes, that no one laughs at one another but with one another, and that we grow by pushing ourselves. As faculty, I try to model what I preach. Therefore, when I make an error in English, and I do, by mispronouncing a word, I am no longer self-conscious, and we can all laugh together if I said something that sounded funny. When we all laugh together at an error, it is easier to move past it and to dare to make another one. By allowing my students to make mistakes safely, I have allowed them to be vulnerable. In turn, since I try to model what I ask of my students in the classroom, I have exposed my own vulnerability as well. Being vulnerable not only makes us human, it transmits trust to our students because it shows authenticity by revealing a part of ourselves that we usually keep concealed. I encourage my students to reveal their vulnerabilities in my classes. When they do not know an answer or when they have to present in front of the class in a foreign language, or when they admit to me that they have not done their homework, that makes them vulnerable. Students might feel exposed. However, they own the situation and they may learn from it. I tend to be more understanding and flexible in these cases. I have learned from my students that when I do not know an answer, I just tell them that I don't know it and that I will research it for our next class session. When I try a new approach and I do not succeed, I no longer see it as a failure. A certain courage is needed when trying new approaches and in admitting that they did not work. That is the part where one can feel vulnerable. However, there is nothing better than rectifying in order to keep improving and learning. Being resilient these days in particular is extremely necessary to endure challenges. Students have shown me examples of what it means to be resilient. I learned what it meant to be resilient from one student in particular. It was the year 2003, and Ivy was coming to campus to take a final exam on a December day. However, Ivy never made it to campus, and instead her car was found 150 feet down a cliff. My student was brought to the ICU in Escondido in a critical condition. Ivy was 19 years old at the time. In spite of spending 2 years in the ICU and needing an oxygen tank at all times after that, Ivy went back to school, and today she holds a doctorate in clinical psychology. I used to go see her at the hospital, and not once did she complain. Not once did she feel sorry for herself. Not once did she doubt of her strengths. Because of her and students who like her go through hardships in their lives, I have learned the true meaning of what resiliency entails. Students have shown a tremendous amount of resiliency during the pandemic, and they continue to show it, as it is not over. Our students have become online learners due to the circumstances, and they are trying their best to continue to receive an education in spite of enduring traumatic experiences at times. We, as faculty, must adapt our teaching to the changing needs of our students to be effective teachers. We owe it to our students to give them the best education. As we reinvent ourselves as teachers, we become more resilient too, and more understanding. It is also another way to stay connected with our students and to show them that we care as we evolve and adapt to meet them where they are. When students struggle in the classroom, sometimes these challenges conceal something much bigger in their lives. We may not ignore when a student shows learning difficulties, what issues lay behind them. Not everyone is resilient, and certainly not all the time. We must deploy compassion and flexibility in order to develop the whole student and not just cover what is on our syllabi. I have learned that it is important to teach with a holistic approach, caring about our students as a whole, monitoring their learning process while also checking their well-being. My students have inspired my teaching and informed my research in second language acquisition with their pertinent and thoughtful questions. My last textbook is a good proof of that. My students expressed their interest in French and Francophone films, and I could see their motivation and engagement in our classroom discussions. I observed how I could explore the cultural and linguistic pragmatics in a more practical way, thanks to the movie-based instruction. And that is why I decided to develop an advanced textbook about French and Francophone culture and language through film. At times, I have been touched in a very profound way by my students. I will be remiss not to mention the sadness I felt after I lost one of my students back in 2013. Lucas really touched my life by his determination and his years of hard work and preparation to go study abroad. Due to an unfortunate accident, his life ended abruptly, as well as his dreams. Thanks to an endowment that I started on his name, and that was made possible by generous donations by many of you who are here today behind the screen, and also the help of university advancement. Although Lucas could not study abroad, he's sending each year one of his peers to do what he could not through his endowment. I would like to end by stressing how privileged I am for doing a job I am passionate about, a job I dreamed about since I was very young, a job where I have made lifelong connections and friendships with my now graduated students, a job where when I am in the classroom, I enjoy myself so much that afterwards I think, how could this be work? A job where many of my colleagues are my closest friends, a job where I have the privilege to touch the lives of my students and where my students touch mine. As a professor, the way I try to touch my students' life is by believing in them, empowering them, and supporting them to reach their best potential. As a faculty member, the way I try to serve my field, the campus, and the community is by making contributions that are meaningful and connections that are long-standing. I do not take this award lightly, nor do I take it for granted. I will honor it and cherish it for years to come. I would like to thank all of you for being here today. I look forward to continuing working with all of you and teaching our wonderful students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anover, for those remarks. And I feel that what you had to say today was a remarkably appropriate way to launch us into a semester that already feels like a challenge. And so your words for me were really important and inspiring. So thank you so much, and congratulations to you on a well-deserved award. We are at the end of our faculty assembly, and I want to thank everyone who attended today. I know how busy we all are to prepare for our students. And while we begin this semester in such uncertainty about the pandemic, I wish us all some joy this semester and a chance to positively impact our community. Take care and be well, and I'm sure I will encounter many of you over the course of the semester. It's the end of our faculty assembly. Thank you for joining us.